I joined in 1965. I can't believe I joined in 65 when I just had Miles, but anyway, I did.
Well, I joined the society at the beginning of 1985. We'd been living in the village for about a year, and we didn't have a social life as such, and we thought it might be a good idea to join.
I joined the society in 1968. We came to Alrewas in 1967, and the children were young, and the youngest was 4, and Sarah would be about 5 then, and I just wanted something else, something to do.
We didn't know there was a dramatic society actually, and the first we knew was that a flyer was dropped through the door to say that they were having an open evening.
And I saw an advert which may have been put in by Audrey Hall at the post office, you know, the little box at the post office, saying there was a drama group and they were obviously after, you know, people to join. And it was at the village hall upstairs. So there must have been something in me that wanted to do it, because I came home and said to Dom when he came home from work, told him, and then sort of on the due date, I promptly went upstairs to the village hall.
It was in a little room upstairs, and I crept up, very, very shy, and I can't remember the name of the play, but they cast me as Serafina, who had an accent. First time I ever tried, and I had to talk in a kind of Italian or French or whatever, some sort of accent, and they gave me the part, and I was amazed. But that's my first venture.
They were reading a comedy. I didn't know anything about play readings or stages or proscenium arches or anything of this kind, and they just sort of asked me to read. Well, whilst I was there, other people were reading, so I just followed suit, you know, and read and whatever. And they must have been desperate, because before I left the village hall, they said, "Right, you got the part."
The 80s, late 80s, I think, I started. And I really just went down to start building sets and things. Well, perhaps in the back of my mind, I thought, well, I might get up and do something.
The redoubtable Val Folkes, she decided to take a risk, and she was going to direct J.B. Priestley's Dangerous Corner, and she took a risk and gave most of us newcomers parts, and it did ruffle a few feathers, I think, in those days, but however, we gave it our all, and and as I recall, it was a great success.
It was Dangerous Corner, and it was a big part, and Val Folkes was directing it, bless her. Told me I walked like a cowhand when I should be walking like a gentleman. And that was terrifying. I learnt the whole play. First time I've never done it, but I learnt the whole play. So I could see so nervous, I could see, when I was doing my lines, I knew where they were on the page. I didn't eat for 3 days. I didn't eat during the performance, Thursday, Friday and Saturday.
Then when we came to Alrewas, the very first person we met was Audrey Hall, because Audrey was involved with a group called Welcome Wagon or something. She came round to tell us about the village and things. And when Quinton said he was involved, "Oh," she said, "we've got a drama society." And so she got him involved in Lichfield. And he also got involved in Alrewas, and he did acting and technical and did the lighting.
You never knew if it was the rubber burning on the dimmer pack or Quinton's cigarette smoke that you could smell. He used to sit up in the gods in the heat with long pieces of wood, pushing up and pulling down the old dimmer packs that used to be up there, and the heat was tremendous.
There was a scene where someone was supposed to be murdered, but it was to look like a suicide. And I think the murderer was Steve Bullock and the victim was Tony Jones. And he was supposed to be shot, but unfortunately the gun didn't go off. So Steve had to club him on the back of the head with it. It never was, of course, explained how he committed suicide in such a way.
Dr. Platt and other people were all lying down with sheets over them. I don't know what they were supposed to be.
I think Grecians or Romans
Probably,
or something like that.
And Mrs. Buckley started laughing and shouting out, and soon the audience were in an uproar. And of course we were backstage, we didn't know
what was going on. No.
And I forget what they said, but actually Dr. Platt had lost his cover and he was showing more than he should. And Mrs. Grimley was shouting up about it, and everybody was in laughter. And Dr. Platt shouted back, "You all behave yourselves, you can say." He said, "I've seen all you've got, now you can see what I've got," or something like that.
I think one of the memorables that I wasn't in but I prompted in was at the church, A Man for All Seasons. That was fantastic.
And then we had to be out of the village hall because they were going to Altrip. So we did the most wonderful, wonderful production called A Man for All Seasons in the church. Well, it was really a wonderful, you know, everybody said how fabulous it was, and of course heavily involved who was John Colston, the local vicar.
I think over the last few years we've perhaps pushed the boundaries a little bit in terms of content and language, which 30 years ago it would have not got through the committee, I'm sure, because, well, they would have thought that the village wasn't ready for such things.